Hello again. We're going to do some more Summary Judgment. As I've been saying in my other episodes, I'm trying to get through all of Wave 1. I've definitely got a few up there, and we're just kind of powering through, going basically alphabetical, I think, through all of Wave 1. And I don't think I've mentioned, I may not have mentioned this in the other videos, but I have linked to the Judgement website, and if you go on there, you can go to the print and play section, and you can find all of the rules there. There's also 2 apps, which I believe are also outlined on their website. So feel free to check that out. Today, in this episode, I'm going to talk about Doenrakkar, who I believe I'm pronouncing his name correctly. It's just a little tweak. Alright, so he is a Minotaur shaman. Again, shaman is just to give you some fluff there. He's a defender. He has a soul harvest value of 3. He has a movement of 4, an agility of 3, and a resilience of 1. That's a pretty standard stat line for all the Minotaurs, by the way. Or pretty close to. He has a melee of 6. He has no other attack types. His attack is a shillelagh, which is a big bonking stick, basically. Which is a melee weapon. It costs an action. It's 2-inch range. It does a 2-3-5 for damage. At level 1, he starts with 20 damage boxes. At level 2, he gains an additional 2, and at level 3, an additional 3 to max out at 25 if he gets up to level 3. Then to flip the card over, his innate abilities include Regeneration 2, which is outlined in the book. I think we'll talk about at the end what Regeneration does. He has a innate ability called Redirection, which says the first time a friendly non-defender model within 2 inches of this model is hit by an enemy attack this turn, the damage and conditions of the attack are resolved against this model, so against Doenrakkar. Then he has 2 active abilities. One is Stone Form, which costs a single action. This model's agility is reduced to 1, and his resilience becomes 3. This model cannot be thrown, suffer knockdown, or be pushed by enemy models by any means. Stone Form expires at the start of this model's next activation. And then his final active ability is cost of Fate. It's called Stone Grasp. Enemy models within this model's melee range cannot perform an advance or charge action. Stone Grasp expires at the start of this model's next activation. At level 3, he gains an innate ability called Hyper Regeneration, which increases his regen from 2 to 3. And at level 3, he gains an active ability called Healing Wave, which will all friendly models within 3 inches will heal 3 health for a fate. And then just some quick notes. So it didn't talk about regeneration. So what regeneration does, it says during the communion phase, he heals for 2. And the way the timing works on this is that happens before heroes would spawn. So when you respawn a hero and they have 5 less life, they don't regenerate to be at 3. So you would regen, and the point when the regeneration happens is before heroes are spawned. Just notes on Stone Grasp. Models can't perform an advanced charge action, however they can be pushed. It is possible for them to move out of his melee range via executing combat maneuvers. So they could, attack him, and if they can push themselves out of his 2 inches, they're free of the grasp, apparently. And if you're placed, you can also get out, because it's none of the things that are prohibited. And then just a note on redirection. Conditions refer to in-game conditions such as curse, fire, knockdown, poison, and stun. Other combat maneuvers such as pushes and throws, etc. are not redirected to Doenrakkar. In this case, the combat maneuvers will be executed against the original target. So, if you've ever wondered what a wall looks like in a game, it's this guy, right? He is not flashy. He doesn't hit. He's not particularly adept at doing damage. Although, if he does hit you, it's going to hurt because, 2-3-5 is pretty respectable. I would say, you'll notice as we've talked through here, there's some, consistency with the damage. So, 2-3-4 is so there's, 1-2-3 and 1-2-4 are pretty common, low damage grid tracks, I guess. And then you'll see 2-3-4 a lot actually shows up, and I would put that in the moderate area. And then there's some adjustments on that, like this one, that are 2-3-5 and so on. But usually the distinction between aggressors and defenders is that while you may see 2-3-5, I think that's actually what Rakir has, for example, or Brock may actually have that too. But what you don't see is any way to generate additional damage, right? So he can make, let's say you're already in his melee range, he can make 3 melee attacks. He probably, because of his melee of 6, he's not going to do all that much damage unless it was a knockdown target. So, like, at the most, he's going to get 3 crits, right? But most of the time he's going to have to charge. He's also going to want to stone form. He's going to get, like, 1 attack. So that's sort of the difference. It's how they play. It's what they're trying to do. Things like that. Anyways, Doenrakkar is definitely a model that you want when you want to, like, take space. This is the guy you're looking for, right? If you want to say, I'm going to sit on this shrine or this effigy, this soul point, whatever the case may be, Doenrakkar is going to be the guy for you. He doesn't really... Stone Grasp, sort of interesting, but for the most part, one of the nice things about Doenrakkar is he doesn't actually cost you a lot of fate, because most of what he wants to do is position where you want him. He wants to stone form, and he wants to just be a jerk after that, basically. So that's kind of his deal, right? Like at Soul Harvest 3, he's not going to be amazing at that. At Melee 6, as I pointed out, not going to be one of your stronger damage dealers, as well as the fact that he doesn't have any extra abilities that help him deal damage. I would say, looking at his level 2 and 3 abilities, they're nice, but by no means would I be like going out of my way to try to level him up. One thing you do absolutely want to watch out with him is the presence of fire. Most of the attacks that do fire damage ignore at least 1 resilience, which is sort of where he starts, but he's probably going to be 3 most turns. And being on fire prevents healing, which is very critical for him, right? Because one of the things is he wants to stand there, take space, and get his regen happening, and possibly some other healing if you need to, and things like that. Redirection is also going to be interesting, because this should hopefully help you if you can keep a squishy close enough to him so that he can, you can't throw some of those like errant low power or low damage attacks at someone like an Astariel or a Bastion, because it's just going to go to Doenrakkar, and at his probable 3 resilience, it's going to bounce off. As I was saying before, right, there's a lot of those 2-3-5, 2-3-4 damage grids, and unless you can get a crit, you're doing somewhere between, and even if you do, a lot of times you're going to be doing between 0 and 1 damage, and a lot of abilities require you to actually damage the target for them to happen. So that's something to keep in mind with the Dawn, as a lot of the Australian folks like to say. I've never gotten him to level 3. I don't even know if I've gotten to level 2. I haven't played him a ton. But as I said, he's definitely a wall. I definitely have concerns for him from a little bit of my play, and your mileage may vary. Again, I've had a limited amount of play compared to like a lot of the guys in Australia and a few others, but it would seem to me I had trouble with him in the smaller point games, just because while he is very adept at sitting somewhere and being very difficult to remove, he also doesn't really contribute in any way, right? Where some of the other defenders have multiple attacks, like Skull, who we talked about, or Thrommel, whose hammer hits very hard, and he has an ability that does a little bit of extra damage, and he's doing some other crowd control with it. Or Marcus, who kind of all those same things, plus he's delaying things, and he's got a few, he's more likely to want to use his attacks and so forth. So, to a degree, I've felt like I had trouble with him contributing in the smaller point game, but in the bigger point game, there's definitely going to be parts of the table where you're just like, there's a wall here, have fun, and they're not going to want to deal with that. So, as I said, in the last video I recorded before this was Brock. You want to watch out for Brock if you have Doenrakkar, because if he gets to level 3, which usually he can because of just from killing monsters even, if he gets to level 3, you are going to be not happy playing Doenrakkar, because if he gets off his level 3 Fate ability, that's going to be you're looking at a possible 18 damage, a more probable like 9 to 11, or something like that, 9 to 12 damage. 10 and 11 are 50-50 in a 3d6 roll. So yeah, that's Doenrakkar. He's like I said, he's a big wall. Who doesn't like a big wall? I want to focus a little bit here. Bring it in. Okay. Yeah. So, I should make a point to talk about the models a little bit more, because honestly, that is what is so amazing about this game. But this model is amazing to me. It is probably the bulkiest model in the line. I have not put all the Wave 2 together by any means, so I reserve the right to change my opinion on that. But currently, I would say this is the most immense model they have produced for this line. He looks fantastic. I love his base and like everything about what this model is trying to show you. There's like swirling rocks happening around the base, and he's standing there with his like staff straight out, sort of, like I said, I kind of was jokingly calling him a wall, and that's just so what he is. I don't know if this perfectly has translated to the Wave 2 bases, but with the Wave 1s, I know they spent a lot of time making sure that those heroes had something going on in their base, or with their pose, that sort of like corresponded to an ability they had, and his is clearly that he's casting that stone form to wrap around himself for that armor. So this model is, to use a term from another game developer, succulent. So anyways, Doenrakkar, that's what he does. If you like this, please go ahead and let me know in the comments. Check out the Judgement Discord, or you can check out either of my Facebook groups where they're a little more War Machine focused, but I will talk about Judgement there as well. Hit me up on any social media, Twitter, blah blah blah. And as always, thanks for watching.